support Fertility Network UK in the National Fertility Awareness Week. It runs from the 30th of October to the 5th of November this year. And Michèle Wright joining us now here on the show to talk to us more about it. I can't believe we're here already. How time flies, Michèle. I know it's been an incredibly busy period for you as well at Fertility Network UK. But great to see you, and thanks for joining us here on the show today.
Yeah, thanks, Toby. Thanks for having us. It means a lot.
No, absolute pleasure. So Fertility Network UK, I mean, 20 years this year you've been helping support people. I mean, what an incredible milestone.
It is an incredible milestone, yes. And we're all very excited about some events that we may be having later this year. We hope to have later this year. But as usual, at this point in the year, we're concentrating on National Fertility Awareness Week, which started on the 30th of October and ends on the 5th. And each day of the week, we have a different theme that we're focusing on in order to raise awareness and to try and move things forward for people going through fertility struggles.
And this Awareness Week, it just basically highlights what you do all year round, really, doesn't it? But I know you've sort of got various different themes for different days and lots of different campaigns behind it. I mean, why is this week so important for engaging with people and just getting the conversation going?
I think fertility struggles are one of those things. It's a bit like almost like a hidden thing. Until I started working for the charity, I never really gave it much thought. I had my children without any problems whatsoever, and never really thought about people who did have a problem. And I think that's quite a common experience, and it's a very, the people that struggle with it, it's very real for them, but it's kind of hidden, and there's a certain amount of embarrassment about talking about it, and that's a terrible shame. We want that to end, and we would like everybody to realize that being infertile or not being able to have a family, this is some kind of lifestyle choice. This is a medical problem which merits treatment, and we're just campaigning for fair treatment for everybody that would like to have a family.
This is something we touched on last year a fair bit, actually, Michèle, was the disparity between the different countries, and people were travelling from Wales to England to Scotland. Has that managed to sort itself out a little bit, or are we still in the exact same boat as this time last year?
We're still in the same boat. Things have improved slightly in Northern Ireland, but we still have 3 cycles of funded IVF in Scotland, 2 in Wales, and 1 in England. So it's still very, very unfair, and there's a postcode lottery being operated about treatment and who can have it and what they can have.
Yeah, it's still quite sad to hear that, to be honest. So National Fertility Week, I mean, as well as letting people, I guess, express themselves on their fertility journey and hopefully helping to support others. Of course, it's just to let people know that you're there to be able to come forward and talk, and startling stats that are brought to our attention every year here at Pure West Radio when we gear up to chat to you. I mean, 1 in 6 is that big headline figure once again. I mean, it's incredible how many people this actually affects.
It's scary. The chances are we all know somebody quite close to us. Whether they've chosen to tell us or not is another thing. But yes, 1 in 6, which is a really scary statistic. And part of my work as education development officer is to try and reach out to young people so that they don't become one of the 1 in 6 through having made a lifestyle choice which will impact on their chances of having a family later. So that's when I'm highlighting the factors that they need to consider. We're not telling anybody what to do, but we are saying, here's the information, so you can make a choice about how you live your life.
And that's what it's all about, really, isn't it? It's just letting people know exactly where they can turn to and how you can help within the process. So, Michèle, you've had various different themed days this week for sort of highlighting the various different aspects of what you do and how fertility affects people in different ways. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Monday we launched our cost of living survey, which had some really scary statistics in it. And we discovered that 95% of people are experiencing or have experienced financial worries in relation to fertility treatment since the cost of living crisis began, really. And 49% are unable to move forward with their treatment. People sell their houses, they use up their life savings, borrow money. I mean, and this is for a medical problem that should be treated, and that's the really upsetting part of it, I think. And we want to see an end to that. We don't want people to not be able to have a family because they can't afford to have the treatment. Yesterday, we were looking at ethnic minorities who are maybe interesting is the wrong word, but unfortunate in that they are more likely to have fertility issues and experience a lower success rate if they have fertility treatment. And we want to work to change that. The inequalities in treatment for ethnic minorities can be quite disturbing because many ethnic minority women really wish to be seen by a female doctor, and that's not always made possible because there are social things to be considered which are not always taken into account. So we'd like to see a more equitable treatment pathway for those patients. Today we're looking at moving on. Sometimes it doesn't matter what you do, how much money you throw at it, having a baby is not possible. Obviously, this was more the case in the past, but still is the case. There are no guarantees with fertility treatment. And for example, a white couple having fertility treatment or individual will have a 30% chance of success. And this is one of those facts that we want to get over to young people because there is no guarantee. 30% is quite a low number. And what happens to people is that the grief of not being able to have a family never ends. And I'd like to signpost particularly, we're premiering a film at midday today called Anne's Story, and that will be on all our social channels. It's actually a film I made of a wonderful person, a wonderful lady, talking about how it feels to not have a child and then to think that it had been dealt with, and then for your friends to become grandparents and then to feel the pain all over again. And she talks about how she's coming to terms with that and positives that she's taken from it. So it's not completely depressing film by any means. It's actually very uplifting, but it's something that most of us don't think about, which is why I made the film, really. So if you get a chance to check that out today, I think you'll enjoy it. Tomorrow, we're looking at the LGBTQ plus angle. Shocking for those people in England who don't have any access to funded treatment. Slightly better here. Friday, fertility in the workplace. There is no legal right to time off for fertility treatment, which might surprise you given that it's a medical problem. And quite often employers do not recognize fertility treatment as a necessary medical treatment. You can imagine that as a woman, sometimes it's you don't really want to tell your employer you're pregnant because you don't know what repercussions that will have, although it shouldn't. And can you imagine how awful it must be to not want to tell your employer that you need to have time off for fertility treatment? There's a kind of double whammy going on there. So yeah, horrible. Saturday, him fertility, the male angle. There's actually an event today to do with that, which will be looking at nutrition for fertility. If you remember, Rod Gilbert was very much the founder member of our him fertility section. And Sunday, it's my bag, really. It's education, fertility education. And we're going to be talking about the factors that affect fertility, but also something that I uncovered whilst I was traveling around Wales, talking to freshers and other new students, the impact of COVID, not only on fertility education, which is pretty much non-existent, to be honest, but more particularly on sex education, which seems to have been missed out in many cases because COVID happened and people weren't in school, or it snowed, or whatever happened. Many students reporting they had had no sex education, let alone any fertility education, and that is deeply worrying.
Well, as I was saying, Michèle, you know, some of these stats are always quite startling when we speak to you, but it's great to bring this to the forefront and, you know, understand and realise that, you know, we need to start making a difference and change needs to happen. And that's why we have this National Fertility Awareness Week, to be able to bring that to the forefront. But of course, this isn't just going on across a week. This is going on in people's lives every single day. Please reach out for support and help if you need it, for a friend, a family, or indeed yourself. Fertility Network UK.org is where you can go. Michèle, thanks ever so much for your time on the show today. It's always great catching up with you. You do such a wonderful job of just bringing this to the forefront of people's minds, and just to let people know that there is support out there. Thank you ever so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks, Toby. Much appreciated.
Absolute pleasure. Michèle Wright there from Fertility Network UK here on Pure West Radio, proud to support National Fertility Awareness Week right here on Pure West Radio.
Pure West Radio, live from our studios in Haverfordwest. Ooh, baby, do you know?
Thanks, Michèle. That's brilliant. Star you are. Thank you so much.